When I was pastor in Bowling Green, I frequently hired college students to help around the church. Some would be like the evening receptionist who would answer the phone. Some would take care of the lawn. Some would do some cleaning, and I would pay them a bit. So it was kind of a win-win situation. But there was one young man, a college student, whom I had to correct once or twice. And he was not happy with me. So he asked if we could sit down and talk, and I said, oh, sure, that'd be good. So he came to my office, and we sat down, and he began by saying, Father Herb, I used to come to church, and I would see you, and I would listen to you, and I used to think to myself, this is the kind of guy I would like to get to know. He stopped for a moment, and he said, and now that I know you, I'm disappointed. Needless to say, he was angry at me, but I had to be very careful not to laugh, because that's an incredible line that says, I'm disappointed. He was disappointed. He was probably disappointed because I didn't live up to his expectation, or maybe I had actually failed. So we had a chance to talk, and we cleared the air. When we meet somebody, that is part of the process. What do we expect? What do we find? Can we get to know somebody for who they are? When the Greeks came to Philip and they said, we want to see Jesus, I don't think they were just saying, we want to get a glimpse of Jesus like you see somebody in a crowd. I think they were really saying, we would like to get to know Jesus. We probably have heard something about him. So they talked to Philip. Philip went to Andrew. Remember, Andrew is the apostle who also introduced Jesus to his brother Peter. Andrew had that job, apparently, that he was the great introducer. So they went to Jesus. Now, we don't know the rest of the story, how those Greeks felt after that day. But it's really fascinating because what was going to be their impression? Would they be disappointed with Jesus once they actually got to meet him? Or would there be something more substantial? Jesus did not say, well, I'm a great storyteller. Would you like to hear a parable? Jesus did not say, hey, I'm a healer. Would you like to see a miracle? Rather, he went right to the heart of things. He said, the hour has come. My mission has to be fulfilled. And then he gave that beautiful image. Unless the grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains just a grain of wheat. But if it dies, it produces wonderful, much abundant fruit. He's talking about himself. Now, maybe because I grew up on a farm, that image means so much to me. Unless the grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it's just a grain of wheat. I don't know if you've ever planted seeds, or certainly if you've planted wheat. But you put one grain of wheat in the ground, a stem grows up. It does not produce just one more grain of wheat. It produces an abundance of wheat. One time I went out in the field, and I actually tried to count. And it's pretty hard to do that. It's easy to lose place. But I think I came up with 120 grains of wheat in the head of that one stem. And you put that together with others, and pretty soon you have an abundant harvest. Jesus, of course, was not really literally talking about wheat. He was talking about life. He was saying, if we die, we come to more life. And it's an abundance of life, and it's better than before. And he's not even just always talking about physical death. He's talking about any time we let go. Anytime we die to ourselves, with that phrase that we use so frequently. I can't think of anything that's more countercultural than what Jesus was saying. Because we are led to believe that if you want to be happy, you have to have stuff. If you want to be happy, you have to hold on to your opinion. If you want to be happy, you have to get your way. And Jesus is saying, no, the fullness of life comes by letting go And not just letting go, but letting go in service of others. Pretty much all of the great men and women and children through the ages who have followed Christ have learned that lesson. Dying to ourselves. This is what brings about new life. Now, as he told this to the Greeks, especially when he said, by the way, if you're going to be my followers, you have to do the same. We don't know how the Greeks responded. We don't know if they were disappointed. We do know that through the centuries, other people have been disappointed, but many people have taken it to heart and have chosen to live that way. And some people, especially the martyrs, took it literally. They were not only willing to die for their faith, but they were even willing to die knowing that their death would bring about new life and abundance of fruit. And one of the most recently canonized martyrs was Saint Oscar Romero, the Archbishop of San Salvador. It's interesting. He was assassinated while saying Mass on March 24th, which is Wednesday of this week, in the year 1980, 41 years ago. Just canonized 2 years ago. But the thing that I discovered this week was he was saying Mass in a little chapel near the hospital, Divine Providence Hospital, for some nuns. And it was a Mass for a deceased woman. So he was using the readings for the deceased. And he chose, this is interesting, he chose to read the gospel passage I just read to you. Unless the grain of wheat falls to the ground and dies, it remains just a grain of wheat. In his homily, and there are notes on his homily, in his homily he talked about letting go to be of service to other people, and that through death we come to life. And it was just moments later, as he was reading the petitions, standing about here, this close to the altar. I've been down there, so I was actually at the spot. Standing about this close to the altar, reading the petitions, that's when the marksman drove up. And within moments, Archbishop Romero was the grain of wheat that fell to the ground. And his death has produced great life. In the people that were the oppressed that he spoke up for, the people who were without rights, the poor people that were being overlooked, they were finally invigorated that they could have hope again. But we don't even have to talk about Oscar Romero. We go back to the real source, Jesus himself. And that's what we're doing during this Lent. We're realizing that dying comes to life. We don't have to wait till Easter Sunday, 2 weeks from today, to celebrate new life. It's already in the message. We have heard this before. Do we take the message to heart? Or, as we get to know Jesus, are we disappointed and want to go the other way? I pray that we will take it to heart and let it become our life as well, that we are willing also to let go, to die daily so that we can have life.